All right, so here we go with the next segment. So again, we are here at Dog River Junction, and so this is the new section of line that was built in 1923 and opened in 1924 that comes across the river. You can see the bridge in the distance, so make sure you check out that episode where we go and have a look at the bridge. And so that is tying into the Kashabowie Subdivision, which is still active. We also have another rail line over there as well, which is the Canadian Pacific line, the Canadian Pacific Kansas City, their Kaministiquia subdivision. So maybe what we should do right now before we do anything is show some maps so you can kind of see where we are. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this place, okay? So again, this place is known as Dog River Junction, or Dog River Station. It basically had two mileages because it was on the Crest subdivision, and then it was on the Graham subdivision, later the Raith subdivision, and then back to the Graham subdivision. So it was located at milepost 29.1 of the Crest subdivision, and then it was located at milepost 0.3 of the Graham subdivision. Now we're going to flash up some timetables here after so you can see. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on here. Here you can see basically right in between kind of the junction point, there's been a whole pile of coal that's been spilled. You can see coal all over here. It's all black here, and it continues on that way. And again over here. Let's continue talking about this place. So again, from 1924 to 1925, it basically was the junction point, and then in 1925 this section was abandoned. So what they did was, I don't know when exactly they pulled up the rails out of here, but basically they used this as a spur. And so initially it was a 100-car spur. It was known as Dog River, and then slowly but surely it got smaller and smaller. So like, for example, 1945 it only had 22 cars, and by the 1960s it was no longer a station on the line. It was just a spur. You can see some debris here. You can basically see those are I think those bands are used to wrap bundles of ties. So again, you had this going back here. So if you've watched the previous segment, you'll notice that this the reason why the ties are still there, because again, this was used as a spur for quite a number of years. You can see yet more coal here, and so the spur was taken out of use in 1990. So basically, it stuck around here for a long time. Okay. What else is going on here? So maybe what we should do is here's some more coal. We should flash you up some timetables, but let's take a look at something first. So one of the neat things here, and we saw this in the previous segment as well, if you look on the ground, you'll basically see all these little pellets on the ground, and this pile was actually bigger, and there's more over here. So basically, if you don't know what these are, some people call them iron blueberries. These are iron ore pellets. And so obviously they were spilled, or there was a derailment or something happened here, because there's lots of them all over the ground. So basically this line was carrying iron ore pellets for quite a number of years. One of the big sources of this was an iron mine that was opened near a place called Silver Dollar, which is kind of southeast of Sioux Lookout, and that was known as the Matawin mine, and that opened in the 1970s, and it closed I think in 1991. It was actually one of the big reasons why this line was shut down, because it was a big source of traffic for this, and when the Matawin mine shut down, there was no longer any any real traffic on this line as a result. You can see there's still a tie here, so you can imagine the junction point here, right? So the original line going back that way, and then you have the new line that's coming up this way. All right, so let's flash up some timetables here for you, and then we're gonna hop on the bike and start working our way to the west. All right, here we go. Let's leave Dog River Junction, Dog River Station behind and start working our way west. You can see here, we have a train. I don't know if that's Canadian Pacific or Canadian National. Canadian Pacific, Kansas City. But we'll certainly hear it. So just a little bit about this grade. So first of all, you can see that it's pounded quite flat. Again, there's, if you look closely, you can see those iron ore pellets all over the place here. Lots of vehicular traffic, so nothing like the other section. And so after the line was abandoned in 1994 and the rails were pulled up, this grade was owned by a forest company right up until about 2018 or 2019. And then kind of very controversial, the Ontario government could have purchased the grade. And when Grand Trunk built this, not only did they get like lots of subsidies and things like that, sorry, I had to interrupt myself. Don't know if there's a metal culvert in here, but basically there's could be a metal culvert underneath there, but this might be a kind of a neat little sort of rock culvert. So again, it's really hard to see anything because there's so much water in there. So when the Grand Trunk company built this line, not only they were given subsidies from the Canadian government, they were also given big, and from the Ontario government, they were also given land. And that included huge blocks of land further up the line between here and Sioux Lookout. And so from comments, I mean, I'm not familiar with that part of the story, but from comments people have made to me that, and there's a lot of people that aren't overly happy that the government didn't step up and purchase the right of way and all those forestry blocks. So it's now owned by a company called Wagner Forest Management, which is an American company. And one of the stipulations is you have to buy a permit to go on this line, right? So basically everything from the bridge all the way up to Sioux Lookout. And of course people are not happy with that. I think a lot of that has to do with liability issues and stuff like that. I'm not quite sure, but I've been buying sort of daily passes because the doesn't make sort of sense for me to buy the year pass, because I'm not going to be on this section. Like we've done, most of the hikes we've done this year are on the old section of grade, and we've only done a few on this section, so economically it doesn't work out. Okay, if you listen closely, you can hear that train. Like I said, I don't know if it's Canadian Pacific or Canadian Pacific Kansas City or CN. Again, this would have been a very busy place, right, for those bunch of years, right? So the Canadian Pacific line was built through the area in the 1870s. You can hear it really well now. And then the Canadian Northern Line, which is the CN line, was built 1899, 1902. And then again, this line was built 1905, 1908. Let's just, you can see some slash piles and stuff they were cutting. You can see the geography of the area. You can see those massive ridges. So one of the reasons why you have 3 railway lines running through this area, because there's no way to get out of this area, right? You have to follow the river valleys. So essentially the railway lines coming west followed the Kaministiquia River, and just to the east the Kaministiquia River basically is created by the merger or the confluence of the Dog, which comes out of Dog Lake, and this river, the Matawin. You can see a little cut here. There's a little bit of rock work in here. And up here, I noticed this when I was coming this way. You can actually see the base of a telegraph pole right up there with that piece sticking up right there. You can actually see the wires right behind it as well. Okay, let's hold up here for a second because I think we need to do a battery change.